does the title make the man or the man make the title? I think that was maybe one of the topics me and you was having. It was a lot of names. I was like, I can't remember this person being champion, and it was such a great conversation that we was having. So I was thinking that that could be a topic that we can just get into before I get into the vision, because I did see Raw, and I was like had a lot of thoughts about why did the vision break up. Or do you just want me to give the people my thoughts about the vision real quick, and then we get into that topic about people being champions at the time being champions?
Yeah, I think the best idea in this case is talk about the vision, kind of walk us through what exactly happened. Yeah, I know there was a turn, but kind of walk us through that segment, walk us through what your thoughts are after and where you think it's going. And then I want to give my ideas about where I think it's going because I don't have to watch things to know where things are going. At least I think that, right? And then we can talk about champions because that topic is a little bit interesting and it requires a little bit of research. Because honestly, we had a lot of names and I don't remember half of them anymore. So yeah.
Yeah, well, my whole thing was with the segment with Seth and Breaker and Bronson Reed. We came off a great crown jewel. The team finally looked at like a team like almost Evolution S. Bryson Reed won his match between Roman, even though he got assisted by Breaker. Seth finally beat Cody on his own. We go into Raw. Seth does a promo. Now, yes, I understand people said Seth did say he didn't need the vision, but there was a part of that promo that he said he didn't need the vision, but he picked the vision and the vision picked him. So that really was like a good key there where I was like, if he would have left it where he said he didn't need the vision, that was it, I would understand the turn. But like I said, I think that part right there made this breakup become something where I was like, why did we do this? Now I am hearing rumors that Seth is hurt. And this goes back to when we found out Seth was hurt the first time, which you was so mad about when they cut Goldberg's match. And we found out that it was whole thing was just fake. Now we're here, and this is why they should not do storylines, or if it wasn't a storyline or plot twists like this, because now you got a lot of people that's not believing this. A lot of people are thinking, well, hey, it's karma. Hey, he should have never did it the first time. Now we're here, we're not going to believe it. They broke up this group too quick, because from what I'm hearing, if he can come back early, I feel like you could have did a couple things with this breakup. You could have, if Seth was hurt, what I would have did was left the promo how it was and found out how long would he be out. You could have kept him, because we already know CM Punk is the number one contender. Now I know because the poster that Triple H put out had Punk on it, because this match I guess was supposed to be in that main event. So maybe the reason why they pulled the trigger so quick, because they didn't know how long Seth was going to be out. But my thing is this: you could have easily changed the poster, the flyer for main event Saturday to somebody else. You could have did Cody, you could have did John, you could have did anybody, and we would have never known. But now it's out there. We're here. We're now here where we're somewhere where now we're like, okay, y'all rush this. You've made this turn too quick. You got Breaker holding up the championship, as you can see in our thumbnail. Paul was looking confused. They made Paul force he forced Paul to raise his hand. He talked to Brunson Reed, told Brunson Reed to squash him, do the tsunami on him a couple times. And I was like, it was a great shock factor, because I did not see this group breaking up this quick, but it was at the wrong time. Because one, you now, where do we go from here? how if this is too early because the fans are thinking that, and if Seth can come back, and I was telling Reggie and Greg this one day, I was like,
Miami,
if
just be advised that your signal is not the best because there are certain parts you do sound like a robot. So FYI.
well, I'm sorry, I can't do nothing about that. But there's things where, and maybe because I got a mic on or something, maybe, but there's times where we. I hope y'all can hear me. Can you hear me now? Do I sound good? Okay. But there's times in this story where if they want to switch it back, which I think us as the IWC, and we sometimes have to take blame for a lot of things that happen. We really do. It's got to come to a time where we got to be like, okay, some things are our fault. We don't want to take that blame, but we got to. But they can do another switch here. We was hearing things about Theory maybe joining this group, and if Seth can fight Punk for this championship, maybe they can do one thing where we can turn this story around. Is Theory interferes in Seth's match, causing Punk. Breaker and them comes out and still help Seth. And then the next day, Seth says, hey, you thought I was going to be my. Because maybe they're going to do something where Punk is going to say, hey, now you're alone. Now I'm guaranteed to win this. And maybe that'll be the build up to their match. And come to find out, Theory might interfere and Breaking Down might come down to help Seth, and then Seth will say, hey, I got you again. You thought I had one on you thought you had one on me, but I keep outsmarting you. Maybe they could do that to maybe fix this, but I don't know people are gonna like that because now maybe people are gonna say, well, can Seth trust Breaker? Can Seth trust Paul? Can Seth trust Reed? So I don't know how they're gonna fix this, final boss. It just was really interesting. They pulled this trigger early, especially if I'm hearing that Seth can come back in November. That's definitely like, man, you pulled the trigger too early. If he can come back right then and there, that's just my thoughts. I know you said you didn't see it, but you still know what a part of the story's gonna go. I just think they broke it up too soon, and maybe now Breaker's gonna win the championship, and we're moving on with something else. But that's just my thoughts.
Yeah. So it's obvious that we are going somewhere else. I do agree with you. I do agree that they broke it up way too soon. That team clearly is not built. And honestly, they just started recently getting momentum once Seth won the title. They were they didn't have a name for a while. They finally got a name. They changed Paul Heyman's title to the Oracle now. Um, so we were still kind of getting everything in motion. And then, of course, with Seth being champion, remember, we thought that Breaker was injured, and he really wasn't injured. So we're just really recovering from all these different things. Um, and really starting to build that group. Well, I don't know if I don't think Braun Breaker was injured. I think that was part of an angle. Um, but it didn't have the time. Uh, I know you said evolution. Oh, sorry, evolution. I don't know what the S stands for. But evolution was around for some time. They had built up to be a pretty strong group. So when they broke up, it was impactful. One of my favorite groups. It really was. Same thing with the Shield, right? The Shield they had built up for quite some time. Of course, they had debuted on SmackDown because they were on NXT, and they put it. Sorry, not SmackDown, on Raw. Um, and they took over Raw and they were impactful. So when we had that turn, Seth on Roman and then also on Dean Ambrose, it was impactful. And then when they all disbanded, it was still impactful because you had Seth go ahead and join the Authority. You had Dean Ambrose become the Lunatic Fringe. You had Roman become the Big Dog. Even though there was a lot of pieces with that, he still was really a top star. Did it get over? No, but the whole point is that he still was a top star, even with that gimmick. Same thing with Evolution. Once they broke up, you had Triple H doing his regular stuff, being a cerebral assassin with the sledgehammer. You had Ric Flair, doing things. You had Batista, there, and then they did break up, and then you got the Animal Batista out of it. You had Randy Orton, the youngest champion at the time, out of it. We had rivalries in between that. We had Triple H take a screwdriver to Ric Flair, one of my favorites. So the point is that those groups had time to develop, and when they broke up, it was just impactful. Another thing that's similar to this right here for me would be American Made. That group was starting to build the momentum. They were seen as the underdog group, right? You had this group of losers, right? Like, not losers, not saying that they're bad like wrestlers or anything, but they're like mid card and people that they're placed in the mid card. So I want to make that very clear. Just because you're in the mid card does not mean that you're always going to be like, because your talent is not there. It just means that that's where they put you. So in this case, especially with Chad Gable was great. You remember, when he was with Jason Jordan. I mean, they were to be the next big thing, and of course, Jason Jordan got hurt, and then it derailed things. And of course, we had a great match, when Maxine Dupree, right? We seen what Otis can do when he had Tucker and he had the whole thing with Mandy Rose. Like, we all seen what and of course, Tajiri Tozawa, we've seen what these people can do. This was put in a lower card or mid card type of position. So they're the underdog group trying to prove, hey, we know that we're placed here, but we really should be up here. And that group was around for a little bit, and the whole story was it was Chad Gable just being a bad guy as a leader and treating, the members pretty bad, just like, companies that I know, but treating people really bad, and and not the company that you might think it is. That him and Otis had this whole rivalry, and we were really waiting for Otis to turn. So the whole story was, when is he going to turn? When is he going to be fed up? Come on. And you had the crowd cheering, for Otis to turn on Chad Gable, and, just be his own person, stand up for himself. And he did. But when he did it, it was underwhelming, and it didn't kind of go anywhere. And the reason why I bring this up is because that is a story of, was it time to have that turn for Otis? Yes, it was, because we were waiting and we got it. The way that they did it wasn't impactful. This, with the Vision, on the other hand, I feel the opposite. I just feel like it wasn't time just yet. We didn't want it just yet. I felt they could have teased that, they could have prolonged that, they could have caused more dissension, more tension. And especially when they have 3 strong members, of this group, and of course, the Oracle, the manager, which is Paul Heyman. Now, we did hear that that Seth is reportedly injured. He has an arm injury of some sort. I believe I read that he's in a sling. And you have mentioned that he's expected to be back around Survivor Series, which is just around the corner. It's next month. So if that is true, I don't see why you would break up the group for such a short-term injury. Now, there was going to be a long-term injury where he required surgery. He's going to be out for like 6 to 9 months. then I kind of understood that, and they still could have did something without even having that, and just wait till he returns, and then kind of have that fallout, because that's something that we basically were seeing with the Judgment Day when Liv Morgan was out for the movie. And now, of course, she's out recovering from injury. But while she was out for that movie, we were, seeing different pieces to that, things with Raquel and Roxanne, and you have Finn Balor kind of be the evil guy in the shadows, like somebody who I know, kind of pulling those strings, like somebody who I know. Um, and we just wanted to see, Liv Morgan come back and see what exactly she was walking into. And unfortunately, it didn't kind of go where we thought it was going to go, because she got injured shortly after her return, and now she's out for a longer time. And at this point, I don't think it really matters where they are when she comes back, because we've kind of lost a lot of interest in that group now, because they haven't really had any real movement in that group as we thought they would initially. Um, and so, with that being said, again, I don't see the point of them breaking up the Vision if he's going to be out for a short term injury. Um, I feel like unless they do some really good storytelling, they're not going to come out of this breakup being bigger stars, because the group wasn't built yet. I mean, I don't look at Braun Breaker or Bronson Reed as bigger stars because of this group. Like, I don't. We always knew that Braun Breaker was going to be, the next big thing. He's a Steiner, big pop pump. But and we know that Bronson Reed is just really big. He's like the muscle. And we know Seth Rollins is freaking Seth Rollins, right? And Paul Heyman is fucking Paul Heyman. But I don't feel like any of them got any bigger than what they already were with the group. And I just feel like it's because the time wasn't there yet. It just hadn't had time to grow. So as far as where they're going with this, mm, there's a lot of things with watches and things like that. Maybe it was, well, before I get there, I believe it was for shock value initially, because TNA Bound for Glory was a great show. My heart is in shambles because Team 3D is retired. I am severely heartbroken. I was super excited um, when they came out, because they had the original music with the original shirt, which is the black and white with Team 3D with big letters on the front. I was super excited to see them come out. Great match. We had Jeff Hardy do a swanton off a freaking ladder. He's 20. Um, and of course, we had Santana win over the beautiful, sexy Trick Williams. Um, so I think with matches like that, I feel like they wanted a shock value for Raw. Um, because think about it, these pay-per-views and PLEs ran back to back. We had the PLE Crown Jewel on Saturday. We had a pay-per-view, TNA Blanc Glory the next day on Sunday. So even though they're partners now, WB's been a partner with TNA for, was it has been almost a year now, I believe.